Have you ever wondered why nearly every ancient civilization, from the towering pyramids of Egypt to the stone temples of the Maya, bowed in reverence to a blazing orb in the sky? Why did they build monuments that aligned perfectly with its rising and setting? Why were entire spiritual systems crafted around its movements? What did they know that we have forgotten? Modern eyes may look up at the sun and see only a ball of burning gas, 93 million miles away. But to the ancients, the sun was no ordinary object. It was the eye of God, the divine flame, the living intelligence behind life itself. It wasn't just a symbol, it was a presence, a being, a force of unimaginable power. And perhaps, it still is. This video is not just about ancient sun worship as a primitive form of religion. No, this is a journey through hidden corridors of forgotten wisdom, where stone whispers secrets, and light becomes the language of the divine. We will explore how and why the sun held such a sacred place in the hearts of mystics, priests, and sages across the ages. You'll discover how solar worship was not about superstition, but about aligning oneself with cosmic rhythms and spiritual truths encoded in the very fabric of reality. We'll dive deep into ancient Egypt, where the sun was Ra, the all-seeing creator. We'll travel to Vedic India, where Surya's rays were chanted into the breath of meditation. We'll decipher Mayan calendars, whose precision was based on the dance of the solar cycles. And we'll journey through the esoteric schools of Hermeticism, Gnosticism, and alchemy, where the sun was not just in the sky, but also within the soul. But this isn't just about ancient knowledge, it's about your life, right now. You'll learn how this solar wisdom can illuminate your inner world, fuel your transformation, and guide you toward higher consciousness. Because to the ancients, the sun wasn't merely a physical light, it was a spiritual fire, and its worship was a map to enlightenment. Are you ready to remember what the ancients knew? Are you ready to face the sun, not with sunglasses, but with the eyes of a seeker? Let us begin. Long before clocks and calendars governed our days, it was the sun that ruled time. Its rising signaled birth, its zenith marked power, and its setting whispered of death and renewal. But for ancient civilizations, the sun was not just a celestial timekeeper, it was the living embodiment of divine order, or what many called the cosmic law. In the shadowed sanctuaries of Egypt, the priests of Heliopolis whispered sacred hymns to Ra, the solar deity who sailed his golden bark across the sky each day and journeyed through the underworld by night. Ra was not merely the god of light, he was light itself. To the Egyptians, his daily passage symbolized the soul's journey through life, death, and rebirth. Temples were aligned with surgical precision to catch the first rays of dawn, marking not just a new day, but a moment of divine communion. In India, the ancient Vedas, among the world's oldest spiritual texts, revered the sun as Surya, the all-seeing witness of all karma. Surya was not just a god to be worshipped, but a force to be internalized. Vedic practitioners performed Surya Namaskar, the sun salutation, not as exercise, but as a ritual of alignment between body, breath, and solar rhythm. The Gayatri mantra, still chanted today, is a prayer to the solar intellect that illuminates both the world and the inner mind. Across the ocean, the Mayan civilization crafted calendars so precise they could predict solar eclipses centuries in advance. To them, the sun's cycles were not arbitrary, they were keys to epochs, ages, transformations of consciousness. The sun wasn't just part of nature, it was a cosmic intelligence delivering instructions in the language of light. The end of their long count calendar wasn't a doomsday prophecy, but a portal into a new solar era of awareness. Even in Greece and Rome, where mythology grew more anthropomorphic, Helios and Apollo represented aspects of divine radiance and reason. And deep within the mystery schools of Hermeticism, the sun stood at the center of the alchemical process. The philosopher's goal was to transform base matter into gold, not literal gold, but the golden light of enlightenment. The sun was both the metaphor and the method. Why such obsession with this one celestial body? Because in nearly every esoteric tradition, the sun was seen as the visible face of the invisible source. It was the closest thing to God that the eye could see. Its warmth was life-giving, its light was truth-revealing, and its cycles were law-making. To follow the sun's path was to follow the divine blueprint etched into the universe itself. Consider this. The sun sustains all life on earth, yet asks nothing in return. It shines equally on the sinner and the saint. It does not judge, it only gives. To the ancient mind, this was not a coincidence, it was a lesson. In the sun, they saw the perfect model of spiritual service, of radiant being. It was both teacher and test, revealing who we are and who we are meant to become. And so they built temples not just to honor it, but to mirror it. The Great Pyramid of Giza was constructed with golden limestone to reflect sunlight. Stonehenge's megaliths mark the solstices. The Temple of Karnak reveals its hidden geometry only during the equinox. These weren't random architectural feats, They were acts of devotion, designed to harness the light of the divine and anchor it into the earth. And yet, the deeper truth is this: they weren't just worshipping the sun in the sky. They were awakening the sun within. Are you ready to uncover what that inner sun truly is? To the untrained eye, sun worship may seem like the glorification of an external object, primitive, perhaps even naive. But ancient wisdom was never literal. It was symbolic. It was alchemical. The outer sun was never just about heat or harvests. It was a mirror of something far more mystical: the sun within the soul. Esoteric traditions from Egypt to Tibet spoke of a hidden fire inside the human being, a radiant force sometimes called solar consciousness or inner illumination. Just as the external sun rises each morning to banish darkness, so too can the inner sun awaken within you, dispelling ignorance and revealing truth. This light has been called by many names: Atman, Christ consciousness, the golden child, higher self. And like the physical sun, it radiates life, clarity, and transformation. Imagine this inner sun as a seed of divine light, buried beneath layers of mental fog and emotional debris. Most people go through life unaware of its presence, stumbling in shadows cast by ego, fear, and confusion. But spiritual awakening, true awakening, is not about acquiring something new. It's about uncovering what has always been there. As the Hermetic axiom says, that which is below is like that which is above, and that which is above is like that which is below. The solar disk above reflects the divine spark within. In ancient initiatory rites, candidates were often symbolically buried in darkness, placed in tombs, caves, or underground chambers. This was not punishment, it was preparation. The darkness was meant to mimic the night, and the initiate became like the earth awaiting dawn. When the light finally returned, whether through a literal sunrise or an internal vision, it marked not just the end of a ritual, but the rebirth of a new being. This motif appears again and again. In Egypt, Ra descends into the underworld each night and battles the serpent of chaos, only to rise victorious at dawn. In the Christian mystery, Jesus enters the tomb and emerges resurrected, light conquering death. In the yogic tradition, the Kundalini energy sleeps coiled at the base of the spine, but when awakened, it rises like the sun through the chakras, illuminating each center until it reaches the crown, where divine union occurs. The path of the sun is the path of the soul. It begins in darkness, descends into the world of form, battles the shadows of the subconscious, and rises toward illumination. Every dawn is a reminder of that possibility. Every sunrise is a sacred whisper: you, too, can rise. But what causes this inner sun to awaken? What fuels it? In the Hermetic schools, they taught that purity of thought, disciplined practice, and alignment with cosmic law were necessary to ignite this inner flame. In alchemy, the gold was not material. It was the radiant state of being that emerges when the lead of base consciousness is transmuted by fire. The fire, of course, is the solar force, both literal and symbolic. In this light, solar worship becomes something far more profound. It is not merely an outward ritual, but an inward invocation. To face the sun in meditation, to breathe its light into the body, to honor its cycles. These were techniques meant to synchronize the human being with divine rhythm. The ancient mystics believed that the sun could activate the dormant codes of enlightenment embedded in our DNA, that its light carried intelligence, and that by receiving it with reverence, one could awaken to higher states of being. We now know that sunlight affects our serotonin levels, our melatonin production, our circadian rhythm. But what if there's more? What if the ancients were not only aligning with biology, but with spirit? What if the sun's rays do not just nourish plants, but also the soul? This is the mystery we now begin to unravel. And it is only half told. If the first half of the mystery reveals that the sun reflects our inner light, the second half reveals something even more startling. That the sun itself is not merely a star, but a veil. A doorway, a bridge between worlds. Esoteric traditions have long whispered of a secret. That behind the visible sun is a second, invisible sun. A spiritual sun that shines not in the sky, but in the higher realms of existence. This hidden sun has been referred to in Hermetic texts, in the teachings of the Essenes, in Rosicrucian and Theosophical doctrines. It is the true source of spiritual light, the Logos, the solar Christ, the divine mind from which all life springs. To the average observer, this may sound poetic. But to the initiate, it is a lived reality. The physical sun gives warmth and life to the body, but the spiritual sun ignites the soul. The first governs matter, the second governs meaning. And those ancient civilizations that built their temples in stone, in gold, in fire, they were reaching for both. They knew that every sunrise was a symbol, a code, a cipher pointing to a higher order of reality. In this deeper understanding, sun worship becomes an act of alignment. When the Egyptians raised their hands in salute to Ra, They were not pleading to a god in the sky. They were tuning their bodies and minds to the resonance of divine intelligence. They were becoming vessels for solar consciousness to descend into earthly form. This concept survives subtly in modern spiritual practices. When people speak of raising their vibration, they are echoing the solar principle, to ascend toward a more radiant, ordered, coherent state of being. Light, in all esoteric teachings, represents coherence, truth, love, awareness. And the sun, visible and invisible, is the purest symbol of that coherence. Consider the mandalas of Tibetan Buddhism, the halos in Christian iconography, the golden crowns of kings and saints. All mimic the sun. Why? Because mastery, enlightenment, sovereignty, these are not qualities given by the world. They are radiant states, born when the inner and outer sun are in harmony. The awakened being shines like the sun, not with ego, but with essence. This is why the sun has always been central to rites of passage. In the Eleusinian mysteries of ancient Greece, initiates emerge from the underground chamber not just physically, but spiritually reborn, having seen the light that is brighter than 1,000 suns. In Druidic and Celtic traditions, the solstices were not just seasonal markers, they were moments when the veil between the visible and invisible sun was thinnest, allowing for direct communion with divine order. Even the architecture of these ancient cultures reflected solar understanding. The ziggurats of Mesopotamia, the obelisks of Egypt, the sunstones of the Aztecs, they all point upward, stretching toward that blazing source. Not for worship in the modern sense, but for resonance. For participation in a greater cosmic rhythm. But there's a paradox, and the ancients knew it well. To receive the full power of the sun, one must learn to face it with humility. Look too long with pride, and you will be blinded. This is not just optical, it is spiritual. The solar path demands purification. Only the clear-hearted can bear the full light without distortion. In alchemy, this is expressed in the phrase solve et coagula, dissolve and recombine. One must first dissolve the false self, the egoic constructs, the shadows, before the solar light can reorganize the soul into something golden, something whole. The ancient sun worshippers were not just gazing upward, they were undergoing this sacred dissolution and reintegration. And so, we begin to see the deeper meaning behind the rituals, the monuments, the chants, the prayers. These were technologies, not mechanical, but spiritual, designed to awaken the inner fire, to align with the eternal flame, to become sons and daughters of the sun. The question now is not why they worship the sun. The question is, what might happen if you did? Now that we've traveled through temples of stone and chambers of myth, it's time to bring the sun home, to your body, your breath, your being. For what good is wisdom if it is not lived? The ancients never intended their knowledge to remain locked in scrolls or echoed only in ruins. It was always meant to be practiced, lived, embodied. So how do you worship the sun? Not in superstition, but in alignment. Not as a symbol outside you, but as a source within? Begin with presence. The very first and simplest practice is to rise with the sun. Wake not to alarms or devices, but to the light of the cosmos itself. Stand barefoot if you can, and face the east in silence. Don't chant yet, don't try, just feel. Let the golden light fall onto your face like a divine benediction. As it touches your skin, imagine it awakening every cell of your being, not just biologically, but energetically. This simple act reconnects your nervous system to a rhythm far older than electricity or screens. It plugs you back into the original current. This ritual, once performed instinctively by sages and shamans, is now called sun gazing or sunbathing, but it is more than light therapy. It is a communion. Start during the first hour of sunrise, when the rays are soft, and gaze gently, not with intensity, but reverence. Not for long, just a minute or two at first. The goal is not to stare into the sun, but to receive it. To drink it through your eyes like sacred nectar. Pair this with breath. The yogis knew that breath is the vehicle of light. Practice deep, rhythmic breathing while facing the sun. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, and with each breath, visualize golden light filling your lungs, your blood, your bones. This is not imagination, it is intention. Light follows thought, and thought shaped by breath becomes reality. One powerful practice you can incorporate is the ancient Vedic technique known as Surya Namaskar, the sun salutation. More than exercise, it is a moving prayer, a sequence that aligns your body with solar geometry. Each posture reflects a sun phase, rising, expanding, setting, renewing. Practiced with awareness, it becomes a dance of devotion, a way of becoming solar in movement. Another tool is mantra. The Gayatri mantra, chanted to the solar deity, invokes not just external power but inner clarity. Om Bhurabhuva Swaha, Tat Savitar Varenyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dio Yo Na Prachodayat. This sacred sound is not just a request for light, but an affirmation that you are light. Let it vibrate in your chest, your skull, your spine, like sunlight melting old thoughts into gold. If you are more aligned with Hermetic or Western mystical traditions, you might use solar affirmations or visualizations. Picture a radiant sphere above your head, pure golden light, spinning with cosmic intelligence. With practice, bring that sphere down into your heart. Let it pulse with every heartbeat. This is the solar heart, the sacred center where love, will, and wisdom converge. You do not just carry the sun, you become it. But let this come with a warning, too. The solar path will expose you. Light reveals all, beauty and shadow alike. As you awaken this force, you may feel emotional storms, forgotten traumas, or spiritual disorientation. This is natural. Just as the sun cracks open seeds to sprout life, it also dries up the stagnant and burns away illusions. Stay grounded, drink water, rest, journal. Let the light do its work, but remain the steward of your transformation. And finally, learn to live by the sun. Align your actions with the solar rhythm. Rise with clarity, peak with focus, wind down with grace. Just as the sun gives without demand, practice generosity. Just as it shines without bias, walk with integrity. Just as it returns each day, even after the darkest night, show up for your life, with presence, with purpose. This is solar living. This is what the ancients knew. Not worship of a fiery orb in the sky, but reverence for the divine architecture it reveals. A pattern that begins not out there, but within you. You are not a seeker of the light. You are its source in human form. You are the dawn waiting to rise. We began this journey with a question. Why did ancient civilizations worship the sun? And now, after tracing the golden threads through temples, myths, and mystic practices, the answer is no longer distant or abstract. It is personal. It is radiant. It is within you. They worshiped the sun not because it was the biggest object in the sky, but because it held the deepest truth. The sun was a living symbol, a cosmic teacher. It taught presence by its unwavering rise. It taught generosity through its endless warmth. It taught rebirth in every dawn and death in every dusk. And it reminded them, and now you, that within each human soul is a hidden sun, waiting to shine. You've seen now how this ancient reverence was not superstition, but science of the soul. You've learned that the visible sun is a mirror of the invisible one, that by aligning with its rhythm, you awaken dormant power within. That breath, movement, mantra, and mindfulness are keys to unlocking your inner fire. And most importantly, that the sun does not just rise outside you, it rises through you. The choice, now, is yours. Will you ignore that light and stay in the safe shade of familiarity? Or will you step forward, into radiance, into truth, into the life you were meant to live? The sun waits for no one, but it offers itself to all. So rise with it, shine with it, be the light the world forgot it needed. Thank you for watching and being part of this sacred exploration. If this journey sparked something within you, share this light with others. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel to support this work and help awaken more souls. Until next time, keep your heart aligned with the eternal flame, and remember, you are not just looking for the light. You are the light.